Good day and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Today we're going to talk about my 5 favorite reads of 2021 so far. Since June is now over, we're halfway through the year, I thought it'd be fun to talk about 5 of my favorite reads so far, because at the end of the year, I'm hoping to do a top 10 picks of the year video. So stay tuned if you want to know what my 5 favorite reads so far of 2021 are. Coming right up. Okay, so for my 5 favorite reads, 5, I can count, 5 favorite reads of 2021 so far, I've made a specific rule for myself since I don't count books that I've reread. I wanted my focus to be on books that I've read for the first time in 2021 that are my top 5 favorite first time reads in 2021. And I hope to do at the end of the year the same kind of thing but with the top 10. So since we're halfway through the year here in 2021, now that June is over, I want to talk about my 5 favorite reads of 2021 so far. I tell you, so far it's been a great year of reading. I've really enjoyed some of the books that I've read. I've had some great patron picks so far this year and just some really awesome books that I really enjoyed so far in 2021. So one of the books that I read this year that I hadn't read before is continuing on with the Dresden Files Ghost Story. This is, I guess I should put spoiler alert on that, right? But I personally think one of the best Dresden Files books so far. So definitely it is awesome. So of course this picks up right after what we think is the end for Harry Dresden. And of course he comes back as a ghost. Honestly, if you've read up to this point in the story, you already know what's coming with a book titled Ghost Story if you read everything before it. So, but overall, Dresden Files is a fantastic book series. One of the best, in my opinion, that I've ever read. And I absolutely love the Dresden Files, especially Harry Dresden as a character, and Ghost Story was just fantastic. I mean, could you imagine trying to navigate the world as a ghost, trying to get people's attention with little to no ability to affect the world around you, and having to tap into them, communicate with people in order to bring about that what you need to happen so that you could come back into the world. So in a way it's kind of a resurrection story, but I'll just leave it as that. But ultimately Ghost Story was a fantastic read. Jim Butcher, as always, he never ceases to impress with his Dresden Files books. I love his Dresden Files. I love Harry Dresden as a whole, and I'm really looking forward to finishing up the series. I know I'm going to be reading Peace Talks at some point, as well as Battleground, which are the last 2 in the series so far. So yeah, Ghost Story has definitely made the top 5 in my reads so far this year. Next up, we've got Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett. What happens when Death decides to quit being Death for a while? All hell breaks loose. That's what. There's no death in the world. Things start going crazy. If you haven't seen my little skit video on it, check it out. I'm pretty sure that's in the Discworld playlist. Try to remember to link that in the cards up there. But yeah, I mean, come on. Death retires. All hell breaks loose. Everything's going crazy. Nobody really dies anymore, and just too much life force builds up and everything goes crazy. It's a hilarious read. I love the Death character from Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, and overall, this was absolutely hilarious. What would the world look like without Death? Terry Pratchett, as usual, puts a very humorous and fun spin on it, as he always does with his books. I mean, I can't think of a book of his that didn't have a hilarious, fun spin on it in some fashion when it comes to the Discworld. He's just really good at mixing that humor in while simultaneously having that underlying conversation about, you know, things within our world and ideas and philosophies and pop culture. And overall, Terry Pratchett, Discworld, hilarious. That is definitely making, at the moment at least, one of my top 5 reads. Now, of course, I don't know how many of these books will actually make it into the top 10 at the end of the year, and you know, may change between now and then, but for now, top 5, halfway through, I'm loving it, as always. And of course, one series that I started this year that so far I'm absolutely loving every aspect of it, 100%, and that is going to be James S.A. Corey. Started The Expanse with Leviathan Wakes. Quite impressed with this book, impressed with the series, and I'm loving every book in the series so far as I continue to read this fantastic science fiction series. I love the universe, world, solar system that's been created, because this does take place entirely within our own solar system, and so it's a future that's really interesting. It's divided up into separate classes of people. You got the inners, you got the outers, you got, you know, the Martians, the Earthers, you know, the Belters, and just overall, it's just a really fantastic science fiction story. And if you haven't read the series, if you haven't watched the series on Prime Video, I highly recommend it because overall it's just fantastic. Loving The Expanse by James S.A. Corey, Leviathan Wake's first entry into this. Fantastic all around, highly recommended. Check it out, you won't regret it, especially if you're a science fiction fan. I know I am certainly loving it. One of my other favorite reads this year is a nonfiction by Brian Greene, and that is The Fabric of the Cosmos by Brian Greene. I am loving his books. I'm loving his explanation of the origins of the universe and quantum and string theory. The way he explains things is just awesome from start to finish. He delivers his message and communicates the science in a way that's so much easier to understand for the layman. Now, I know some people still kind of struggle to understand these concepts, and even I do to some extent with the whole quantum theory, quantum mechanics, particle physics type thing. So honestly, I understand that if it's a struggle for some people to understand, but I love his writing and I love the way he communicates it, and he certainly has made it easier for me to understand these principles that we see within the realm of the quantum world, which Brian Greene certainly works in as a theoretical physicist. And overall, I love his writing. The Fabric of the Cosmos absolutely is making one of my top 5 favorite reads of 2021 so far. It really is an enjoyable, fantastic read. And if you're into science, if you're into quantum mechanics, if you're into particle physics, this is the book for you. Along with pretty much anything that Brian Greene has written, realistically, like all of his books, every one of his that I've read so far has been awesome. I'm loving it. And I'm going to continue to read Brian Greene. I've got some more Brian Greene on my shelf I haven't gotten to yet, but you can bet I'm going to continue to read Brian Greene because loving what he's doing there. And then the last in my top 5 picks or top 5 reads of 2021 so far is going to be Andy Weir's The Martian. This was one of my patron picks and just an amazing book. I would not be surprised if this makes it into my top 10 reads of the year. Love The Martian, love the idea, the concept of an astronaut being stranded on Mars with no way to communicate with home, no way to get home, and having to survive, hopefully until the next mission arrives. If the next mission arrives. I mean, they think the guy's dead. So who knows what the ramifications are going to be back on Earth with regard to the whole program that got him to Mars in the first place. But overall, just a fantastic read. Andy Weir has this way of writing that's extremely humorous and funny, while at the same time a very serious situation, but helps kind of relieve the stress with the humor embedded within the story. But it's done in a way that makes you want to keep reading. That's still in a way that makes you take the story seriously. And I love that about the way he writes this book. And it's hard sci-fi. It's using real world science in order to tell the story of the Martian and his successes, his failures. You know, you're going to be cheering right along with him as we go on in this story. And overall, just wonderful read. I loved what this book did. I love the way Andy Weir wrote it, and by far easily making my top 5 reads of 2021. So there you have it. There are 5 of my favorite reads for 2021 so far. And I look forward to the second half of this year with some fantastic reads. I know there's going to be a lot of great books that I'll be reading throughout the rest of the year, and of course well into 2022 as well. And you know, just loving it. And if you want to keep seeing what I'm reading, if you want to keep seeing more videos like this, more book reviews of the books I'm going to be reading, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, let me know, have you read any of these books? If so, which ones have you read? If you've not read them, are there any in this list that would be of interest to you to read that you haven't got to yet? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to have that discussion with you down there. Or alternately, you can even join me over on my Discord. I'll have that link below and we could have a discussion over there as well. Got about, 25-ish people in there right now. And, definitely would love to have you over if you haven't joined up yet. And look forward to speaking with you over there. You could also, of course, join me over on the Patreon as well if you like my channel, if you enjoy this content. Always appreciated, never required. And thank you so much for watching, liking, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so that you know when I post my next video. And until next time, and as always, keep on reading. Bye.